COVID deaths in the United States have been rising since October. And the CDC predicts numbers will continue to head in that direction well past the Christmas holiday. Joining us now is the White House Coronavirus Response Coordinator, Dr. Deborah Birx. Good morning. Thank you so much for being with us.
Glad to be with you.
So let's start with that new strain causing alarm in Europe. Are there signs that it will pose any concern for vaccines, and explain why being more contagious doesn't automatically mean being more severe?
So, this virus's sole job in life is to make itself more transmittable because it cannot replicate outside of humans. And so that's its job, to figure out how to get to us and be transmitted to us. So that is happening both in the United States, it's happening in Europe, it's happening around the world. I think with the emergence of this strain, it should raise all of our alerts that we need to be looking for the same type of changes. What we do know is the same public health precautions we were taking are effective for preventing transmission of this strain, and the vaccine companies are studying this very closely to make sure that the vaccine immune responses have the same efficacy against this strain.
Which is some great news. And the other part of this is that we're finally seeing Americans getting vaccinations. Another piece of great news. Can you predict when masks and social distancing will become a thing of the past? It doesn't seem like that's going to be anytime soon.
Well, I think it's really important in this moment where I can see Americans moving around the country is to really increase their vigilance and protection of each other, to wear masks if they gather indoors, if they're across households, to really protect those family members who are more vulnerable, because we're so close to getting them vaccinated. We now know with Moderna and Pfizer's combined strength that we can start moving through that 1A, getting down to the Americans over 75 and getting to Americans over 65, getting to our frontline essential workers who have been helping us every day to be able to continue to eat and get our pharmacy drugs and really provide us those services that made life possible in America. So we're so close now to getting them immunized. We really need to all pull together as a country, wear masks, physically distance, wash our hands, and avoid gatherings outside of our immediate household.
And that's a part of it that's going to be a little difficult, given that it is Christmas week, right? And there are going to be so many Americans who are going to be traveling despite the CDC recommendations. Otherwise, what would you say to Floridians who are growing restless, who really want to visit their loved ones this holiday?
First, I want to say I know how difficult it is. Caring for my family members that are in an age range from just over 1 all the way up to 96 has been extraordinarily difficult, because the children have been pulled out of preschool and have no play groups. They don't see anyone else. So that's been very difficult. My parents have gotten deeply depressed by the level of social isolation. They haven't been out of the house in 10 months. They haven't seen their son. They haven't seen their grandchildren. And I know every American has been struggling with this and struggling with really the mental health of Americans while we confront this virus. And what I can say to every single one of the Floridians is this is the moment to really ratchet up what we did in March and April, protect one another, to get to the point where we can get our most vulnerable Floridians immunized. We are so close to that moment now that we have the recommendations and now we have the additional vaccine from Moderna. We can essentially double the number of Americans now that can be vaccinated with having this second vaccine from this additional company. So now is the time to really protect one another through this holiday season so that we all get to the new year together and we get the most vulnerable Floridians immunized.
We are almost there for sure. And I don't want to leave without asking you this question. The Associated Press recently reported that you traveled after the Thanksgiving holiday with 3 generations of your family. And so what would you say to people who say, listen, if she can do it, why can't I do it?
Well, those are my generations that I'm responsible for every day. So that is my household. And yes, we had just purchased a house on the 18th of November. I wasn't there for that, obviously. Wanted to make sure the house was secure. So I traveled with my same household members to that house, an empty home, and we isolated inside that house. We didn't go out, and we ate the food that we brought with us. So we were isolated. But I can see how it's been perceived. And so during this critical holiday period, we are going to continue to isolate as a household. We will isolate in the Potomac home as we have been and as they have been for the last 10 months. Of course, I've had to be out and in every state that's extraordinarily hot. And I will tell you, to every American, if you take precautions, if you wear your mask, you physically distance, you don't take your mask off with individuals that you don't live with, you can prevent getting infected with this virus. I've been out since June in every hot spot across this great country. And I know that I've protected myself and my family. I know you can too. And I know we all can. And we can get everybody to the point where our most vulnerable Americans are immunized, because we know this vaccine protects against severe disease and protects against bad outcomes. And that's what we need to get to as a country.
Difficult decisions for all of us, to be sure. Dr. Deborah Birx, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, there you have it.